Today, over 68 million people are internally displaced, and 258 million people have migrated internationally. We are facing a migrant crisis, and the countries of the world are not doing enough to help. In this video, we use Geographies of Care to explain what is happening, how you can help, and how the Government of Canada should be helping. Contrary to popular belief, migration is not a new phenomenon. Rates of migration have been stable since the mid-1800s. It has changed, though, becoming increasingly global and coming both to and from developing nations. It is also increasingly driven by our neoliberal economic system and increasingly politicized. Now we'd like to introduce you to Amina. She is a 20-year-old woman from Libya. She fled the conflict in 2014 and was detained in a refugee camp in Italy, arriving in Canada later in 2018. We're going to follow the geographies of Amina's care over her journey. Amina is from the Libyan capital of Tripoli. She is from a middle-class family and in 2014 was in school pursuing her dream of becoming a teacher. The conflict changed all of this. Motivated by the Arab Spring in 2011, Libyans rose up against Colonel Gaddafi. Today, 4,900 refugees and migrants are being held in Libyan detention centers. The United Nations has reported widespread torture and human trafficking in the centers. The conflict was exacerbated by limited freshwater sources and desertification, both associated with climate change. The WHO reports that almost 75% of health facilities in Libya are now closed or only partially functioning, and over 40 healthcare facilities have been attacked. Amina's parents died in one of those attacks. Without her immediate family, access to healthcare, and in extreme personal danger preventing her from going to school, she decided to travel to Europe in 2014 and wanted to join her cousin in Italy. With limited resources, Amina decided to travel there by boat. The 290-mile journey was dangerous, and it took 15 hours to be rescued by Coast Guards. In 2016, an average of 14 people per day died crossing the Mediterranean. Amina paid most of her savings to traffickers for this trip, hoping to rely on the social, emotional, and financial support from her cousins after arriving. However, when she arrived in Italy, she was detained in a refugee camp along 170,000 other migrants entering Italy. Italy has been politically divided in its response to the migrant crisis, with most ministers wanting to reduce migration. In 2018, she was accepted as a Canadian refugee. Amina goes from Pearson International Airport to a shelter in Toronto. Feeling ill, she searches the City of Toronto website for free healthcare. She finds a web link, but it is broken. Luckily, she connects with a volunteer-run clinic through the Libyan community. In 2018, over 300,000 migrants arrived in Canada. These migrants have experienced lower levels of support over time due to the post-war decreases in public service provision. During this period, capitalist countries have shifted caregiving responsibility away from governments. These changes translate to the gaps in care that Amina experienced. Amina learns about the interim federal health program that offers healthcare to people not able to access provincial health insurance. However, it is not comprehensive, and Amina accidentally incurs additional costs she cannot pay. On another occasion, she is refused care. Amina's friends from the Libyan community have similar stories and have experienced barriers through language, childcare, transportation, and social and psychological support. Throughout Amina's journey, she has had highly variable degrees of access to healthcare. The geographies of care change constantly throughout her migration, with social, economic, political, environmental, emotional, and psychological conditions impacting her experience. When she began her journey, she was perfectly healthy, but today, as a refugee claimant in Toronto, her health and well-being is below that of your average Canadian. So what can we do as individuals to help migrants like Amina? You can write to your local MP and support organizations like Canadian Doctors for Refugee Care and Canadian Lawyers for Refugees, who lobby the government to reverse changes to the IFHP program. All in all, to support migrants and people like Amina, we all need to do our part by speaking up.